everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Niche Girls podcast. I'm Kristen.
I'm Yolanda.
And I'm Jessie.
We did
No,
it. We made it
we
this
out
time,
pretty
guys.
much today.
I don't know why we struggle with that, but today we're on it.
We didn't
So
interrupt each other.
yeah, we're back this week with another fun episode for you guys. But before we get into that, how has everyone been doing? Yolanda, your wedding is literally right around the corner.
It's like 16 days away.
I know. Oh my
It's
god,
not-
I'm so excited.
I know.
I'm excited. I've been getting a lot of last minute stuff done. Picked up the marriage license paper. I did go to a cool antique mall Jessie told me about. So that
Obsessed.
was a fun part of my week. But yeah, David surprised me with my friend Michelle coming into town, and then my work girls surprised me with like a fake bachelorette the next day, and so I got to go to Horror Nights again. So it was a fun week.
Cute.
That's so
Yeah.
fun. And then I was at
Yeah.
Yolanda's yesterday, and she showed me all her little wedding pieces. Oh my god, I
The
was like,
Grafton.
they look so amazing. I am so excited to like put your wedding on Niche and be like,
Yeah.
all right, guys, this is Yolanda's little centerpieces.
Um,
And
I
we
know.
really should do like just to follow along from you guys.
Jesse and I will absolutely do that from your wedding. We will
Just a
live
little
for
one.
your wedding. Totally.
because
Totally.
it's oh my god, it's beautiful. I'm so excited. We're both so excited to go. Like it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have a
Yeah.
It'll be
blast.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
see
I
how
was
we-
in Disney all week, so nothing crazy, but the weather's been like really nice.
And it's supposed to get nicer. The high today
Yeah.
is going to be like 70.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean we
yeah.
had some rain, but it was nice because it was like humid and hot and then it rained and I'm like, "Oh my god, rain, this is lovely." And
Yeah.
then today I woke up and like I opened the door, it like blew open from the wind. It's 74 degrees. I was like, "Ooh, this is
Yeah.
great."
And it's just going to be
Very
like nice like that all week too.
Yeah, so hope for nice weather for your wedding. That's the goal. Just
That
keep
is
going
the
this
goal.
way. Yeah.
It really is.
I know.
Yeah.
I hope.
How about you, Kristen? How's your
It
week?
was good. Yeah, I mean, just busy. Like every week is the same. It's just
Yeah.
it's busy. And I woke up this morning with a little sore throat. My kids have been like not feeling great, so now I'm like, great.
The season change.
Yeah.
Everyone like gets a little around this time, so
So yeah, so if I sound scratchy, everyone, that's why I have some tea, so that should be okay. But that's why if I sound a little scratchy.
you
So-
sound fine.
Yeah, so today we have a fun episode, but it's fun because we're probably also going to have some hot takes in there. We're going to talk about Genie Plus, which is the latest version of this skip the line system at Walt Disney World and Disneyland now too,
Yeah.
and how it compares to the previous system, which is FastPass Plus, and then the OG, the paper FastPass system, which is the best system. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, let's start. Yolanda, hot takes: FastPass versus Genie Plus.
It's
You've
hard.
used both, I assume, right? You've used like
This
every
is
version of it
hard.
for the most part.
Okay, I have used both. It's very hard for me because I don't horribly hate Genie, but the problem is that I think it's extremely confusing and I don't agree with the flex pricing. I think it should be one price. I think the whole
Yeah.
I totally understand variable pricing for park days. Variable pricing for Genie Plus just seems like a money grab. But I don't mind Genie Plus. I did like the Fast Pass favor system, but I will say with like a family that has wheelchairs and stuff, going from ride to ride was always very like we were in one part of the park, we were staying there, so to go to another part of the park to grab that. And then this might be different for some people, I was not a Disney hotel girly growing up. So oftentimes with the Fast Pass system, I couldn't get the Fast Passes I wanted. They were already gone by people who were booking staying in the hotels. So for me, I miss obviously the freeness of Fast Pass because
It's free.
it was
Yeah.
free and I appreciated that because you still don't get much free stuff at Disney. But I on a base level, before we dive into like the details, I don't mind Genie. I like that you can keep getting them throughout the day, that you can stack them. I just think that, like I said, I don't agree with the pricing, and I think families already have to wake up early enough. So I don't agree with the 7 a.m. thing either.
No.
Yeah.
I think you should let people maybe get a day of sleep, and that was one of the good things about Fast Pass is you could book them in advance if you were staying or the night before if you had your ticket. So,
Yeah, I think there's probably a better way, like when you get into the park is when you can book your first one. And I think for some like individual lightning lanes that is the case. And like virtual queues sometimes, not all the time. But
yeah.
yeah, I agree. It's like if you're not up like right at 6:58 to start refreshing, like you're kind of out of luck for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
And
go to
that really
Hollywood,
sucks.
you're gonna miss the Rise Lightning Lane or Slinky Dog if you're
Oh
not
yeah,
doing
I've
if you're not
always
doing
missed.
oh, okay. I'll stop. I'll like we can explain each of them real quick because I realize maybe parents or anyone listening might not know. So obviously the paper fast pass system, I feel like we should explain it, was that you would walk up to the ride, you would get a paper ticket, and it would tell you a time to return. You would have to yes, and you could only obviously get so many per your park date. You couldn't just, keep grabbing. I think you could grab like three or four.
Well,
You couldn't-
actually, you could kind of cheat the system and keep grabbing them, but that's a different
Yeah.
story for a
No.
different
You learned different
Yeah.
ways around it for sure.
Valid. Then when Fast Pass Plus came into, there they all are. So that's what they looked like. When Fast Pass Plus came into, the system, into the Disney app, it was still free. If you were staying in a Disney hotel, you could book 3 of them. So you would get 3 free every day. You could book 3 of them if you were staying in a Disney hotel 30 days before. And if not, you were able to book either midnight the night before or that morning when the park opened. And after using 3, you could book more because that's what I would do.
Yeah, I would do the one at a time.
I would try to book them in the morning and then book more. I'll get into that. David and I used to do the Parkeology Challenge before Disney World had 48 rides when they only had 42.
Nice.
And now the Disney Genie Plus system, you pay anywhere between $15.99 to $34 a day, which is absolutely
per
insane.
person.
Per
Per
person.
person.
Yeah,
On
that's a
top
lot.
of your park ticket. And you can get unlimited fast passes, except for, as Mammoth Club would say, fancy rides, because those are an extra $15 per ride, and there's 2 of those per park. So, a
Yeah.
money grab. And I think extremely confusing.
Yeah,
So-
it's really confusing.
Yeah. So to
Honestly,
Kristen's point,
I was gonna say, if anyone needs help, like, go and watch Mammoth Club's videos because Molly does such an amazing job at explaining them
she
because,
does.
yeah, when I first started learning Genie Plus, I was like, what the heck am I watching? What is this? I don't understand. Because FastPass was just so easy. It was so
Yeah.
simple. It's like, grab your 3, use your 3, grab one, grab one, grab one. And now
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you pay $35 for all of these. Oh, but wait, these aren't included. And you can only go to these at certain times. And you can only grab this one at 7 a.m. And it's very complicated. So for
is.
me, like, I was not a Genie Plus fan when it first came out. I will say I have not used Genie Plus in Walt Disney World, but I did use it in Disneyland because it was my first time there. I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that I wrote everything. So if you're coming as like a guest out of town, out of the country, whatever, and you're wanting to make sure that you write everything, Genie Plus is definitely the route to go. I did find it helpful in Disneyland.
Yeah, we used it in Disneyland too.
Yeah, it was busy. I went in like September, the parties were starting. So it was really busy, a lot busier than I expected.
That makes sense.
And there was no way I was going to be able to wait in 2-hour lines and get everything done. So when it comes to Genie Plus, like it's helpful, but you need to factor that into your pricing
To
of
your budget.
tickets because
that.
yeah, it's a lot, especially per
That-
person if you have a family of 5 or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
That
that and
adds
I
up.
really think that if you want to feel that it's not a waste, you really do need to research it because
Yeah.
so the one time I had used it in Disney World, I've used it twice, but the first time I was texting Molly about it. First of all, I literally was
Yeah.
messaging her, being like, "Can I book Rise? If I'm not booking Rise, like, what would you go for first?" She was
Help.
like, "Slinky Dog or Smugglers?" Like,
Help.
literally because it was so confusing. And so then, to give you an idea, our friends were from DC and they were in town, and I had to leave the park to cover Mardi Gras at Universal. So I ended up leaving all my friends in the park. While I was at Universal Mardi Gras, I kept booking things for them because they were just so confused on how to do it.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
they would
God.
text me and be like, "Hey, our 90 minutes is up. Can you book us another one?" And I would be texting them like, "Yeah, Tower's open. Fantasmic has a link." Like, so they just genuinely were like so unsure how it worked. They didn't want to try to learn it. But I think at the point that we're at now with technology, and maybe I'm wrong, it seems like for families, Disney World vacations can be really confusing. So I
Yeah.
think this just adds another layer of like confusion and being stuck to your phone, which I don't think is fair.
Yeah, there's definitely been times where even with FastPass though, it was like I was refreshing and refreshing and I was like standing in Disney World like this, just
Yeah, me too.
refreshing, refreshing, closing out the app, opening it up again, refreshing. And Genie is the same way. So when it comes to like you just have to keep like fiddling with
Yeah.
it and it's you're just messing with it a lot and trying to get those genies that so yeah, it's a time consuming thing.
It
You are
is.
on your phone a lot. Would I rather be walking around with my eyeballs and looking at everything? Yes. But I'm also like, damn, I really want this ride.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot of looking at at your phone for sure, and you really need like a dedicated person to do that. Or if it's like parents, like maybe split it between the two of you, so like one of you can watch the kids, one of you can fiddle faddle with the thing. Like, it just takes time. Like I know when Jake and
Yeah.
I go to the parks, he is so confused. He has no idea how to work Genie Plus. That's my job. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
my husband
I
doesn't know
know
either.
going in. Exactly. I'm like, I know going in, that is my job to do FastPass, Genie Plus, whatever it may be at that time.
Yeah.
I was always really good at FastPass. Like my dad was like, "Oh my God, you're like a
Yeah, me
wizard,"
too.
and I was like, "I feel like a wizard." So,
And then too, like if you have a dining reservation, then you're like,
oh,
oh, the only time because FastPass would give you more
Yeah.
options. Genie
yes,
Plus normally it pops up like one time.
it's
You
like
can
yeah,
you
very
can click
limited.
into it, and like she said, you can fiddle faddle, and other ones might come up. But
Yeah,
if you don't know you can fiddle faddle, you might see the one time and be like, oh, can't do it. We have a dining reservation then.
yeah,
So
and that's the thing. Like they give you such a small window for Genie Plus too.
they do. It's
So
like 45 minutes. It's quick.
yeah, yeah. Fast pass, like you could go at your hour and they're still like, oh yeah, it's fine. You could go at like an hour and a half and they'd still let you in if you were like stuck at a dining reservation.
They
Genie Plus,
would.
they tend to be more strict.
Mm-hmm.
There has been times where I've been like 5 minutes late and they're like, oh, your time is up, but like we'll let you in. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. But it's like if I'm trying to race from one park to another or I'm at a dining reservation or I have a kid with me, like that's really hard to like make those times stick. Like to
It
actually
is.
stick to a schedule in Disney is
Yeah.
I give props to the people that do because it's hard. Like
It's
I can't
hard.
do it.
Yeah.
I think that's where paper fast pass had the advantage or felt more fair.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. It
You
agreed.
know?
definitely was more fair because you couldn't do anything until you were in the park. So if you got there early, you were
You had
entitled
the
to start that
advantage.
whole system earlier,
Right.
and then you could honestly like get a bunch of them. They didn't monitor the time so much like they do now. So like I remember getting a bunch of them in the morning and then like cashing them all in the afternoon, and they were really lax about it. They didn't,
Yeah.
they didn't. I mean, again, it wasn't as like insanely busy I think like back then like it is now. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that that was like a more even playing field for everybody. You didn't have to be on your phone, and like there was enough leeway in that system. So again, like I have kids, and sometimes, especially not so much now, but when they were younger and napping, but your time comes around, like what am I supposed to do? Wake my kid up so they can get on a ride? Like
Nope.
I don't,
Nope.
I don't want to do that. So like
You also, yeah, you can't control if they get too hot, if they get hungry, if they get sick. Like you can't
It's
control
hard.
that. Like
no. So like I hated
so,
that too. Like even when they were really little, we didn't make any dining reservations. We would just do quick service. Even though there were restaurants that we love, it just was not worth the like, okay, well, I don't are they going to be sleeping? Is this like they're not on a regular schedule, so like I don't know, and you can't bring your stroller in a restaurant, so it's not like I can wheel them in like asleep. I'd have to pick them up and wake them up, and then they're cranky. And now I'm going to be trying to eat like a good meal that I'm paying an arm and a leg for while my kid is like raging.
yeah,
Like no, hard pass
yeah.
on that situation. So like I don't know.
In general, I've always been more surprised that more lines aren't like Kilimanjaro safaris where you can bring your stroller up to a certain point. I understand due to how wide that line is, but it's always it's just surprising to me because Disney World was made for kids, so I'm not really sure why. Just if you have young kids, they don't want to stand in the line more than 40 minutes, and you're not going to get a lot of those done because they're little
Yeah.
legs.
And that's what I was honestly most amazed about Disneyland. When I went to Disneyland, the lines are so
Yeah.
tiny.
They are
Narrow.
small.
I am a tiny person and my butt was still touching the rails.
Yeah.
I was
They
like,
are
"Oh my God."
narrow.
I was like,
It
"This is
was
so
just built in a
small."
different era. Think about that too. Like think about the
Yeah.
contemporary for a minute. Like when you go up the monorail escalator there, it's so narrow, and you figure that was built like in the 70s, the
It's
early
so
like late
narrow.
60s, early 70s because it opened in 71. So
That's
like
true.
I'm always
Yeah, and
wondering like is
everyone
this
was
up to
sick,
modern day
honestly.
And
code?
strollers were like
Because
this too.
it's so tiny.
Yeah, and
No, it's
that's
really small. But that
it's
goes
really
back to
nice.
that's a smart like now I can another thing about using like Genie Plus in Disneyland. Our lines here are like very immersive. If you've been to Disney World, you know the
Yes.
lines in Disney World are not well decorated. You are just in a line. That's it. You
Yeah.
just there. So like if you don't have entertainment for your kid, you're in that
And
line.
Yeah, in Disneyland, you mean?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, in Disneyland, it's just in front of the ride, and it's just do do do
Yeah,
do
it's the
do do do
switchback
do
the
do.
whole
All right,
way.
you're at the ride. Like,
It's not like Snow White. It's not like Space Mountain. There's no games. There's
there's
no
no
like,
games.
like it's
Yeah,
just you and the line.
it was really interesting for me to like see that. I was like, oh my god, that's a 45-minute line, but it's just right out. It's just out
Yeah.
front.
I think I waited almost an hour for Alice in Wonderland. Like the
Oh
little.
yeah. Oh, Alice did not drop when I was there last September.
Horrible.
Alice did not drop below an hour,
Yeah.
which is why I had to get Genie Plus. Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, like it did help. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for Genie Plus. Am I gonna get it when I go this time? Yeah, probably, because I want
Well,
to do
yeah,
all
because
the
you
things.
don't live there, but it also I don't love that it feels like it kind of created a bit of a like a class system in
Yeah,
Disney World,
yeah,
which again I feel weird about. Like it's
yeah.
weird that I have to spend even more money to ride Rise or Guardians
I know.
and then separate money for like just a Fast Pass, whereas like even Fast Pass Plus, like it was on your phone, but it was still very to everyone. It was still very
But think
free.
about
It
what you're
was, and
saying
now it's
though. When
like,
everyone has access to it, how much are those lines really going to be shorter? Because everybody has access to it. That was also, I remember
but
waiting
Yeah,
on lines, like fast pass lines,
you'd still
and
wait.
being like,
yeah.
this is not any short, like this is
Well, there's
nothing.
been times where even
That's
Genie
true.
Plus though, I've waited in lines, or I've had a lightning lane, and I look at the Genie Plus line and I'm like, I'm not I'm
But
not
there's
waiting in that.
certain lines
It
though
was
that
like
are
a
long no matter what. Soren is long.
yep,
It doesn't matter if you
It's
have a
always
DAS
long.
pass
yep,
or a Genie Plus or a Lightning Lane or whatever it is, a fast pass,
yes,
you are waiting and you're waiting a minimum of a half an hour. It does not matter. You can just you're waiting a
yeah,
half hour
Yeah.
and then build from there. That's just what it's going to be. Same thing
yep,
with Test Track. Single
yeah,
rider does fast pass it. You're
Oh,
waiting a minimum of a half an hour. It does not
yeah.
matter. So like there's
that
rides
line's
like that no
horrible.
matter what you do, you're waiting. You just are. But like
That's
I don't
true.
know, I just feel like
Um,
sometimes with
do either one of you know? No,
I
go
was
ahead,
gonna say with
Chris.
FastPass, I felt like I was waiting. It didn't matter. Like I was waiting just as long. Sometimes I feel that way with Genie Plus, but not as often as I did. And that's because it does kind of like you have to opt in, like you have to pay to do it. So immediately like the pool of
Right.
people using it is just less. So, and I don't know. I just feel like that it does kind of like make if
Yeah,
okay, fine, like you're paying now for that privilege of actually having a shorter line instead of like everybody gets to
yeah.
use it. So is it really short? Maybe by 5, 10 minutes
They
sometimes.
do they do prioritize the lines really. Like
They
when I
do.
went to the last, it was I think it was 4 days before Splash closed, and the we were in the normal people line, which was 3 hours. They were taking 50 Genie Plus people to 10 of
Yeah,
us,
I forget what
and
the
so it was
normal
just
like.
it was because we were counting. David and I
Mhm.
were standing right by there for a long time, so we were counting how many they were taking. It was 50 each
Yeah.
time to
Wow.
10. It was horrible. But if
Wow.
you were in the Genie Plus line, I'm sure it wasn't horrible. I'm sure you were like, look at
But
this.
again, if
Look
you're
at this
if you're
Wow.
people
paying for it, then that's what I want. I want you to take 50
Right.
of this line.
prioritize
I'm not going
me.
to wait. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like I would be pissed if I paid and then you're taking like 20 to 10 or 30 like no, it should be 50 to 100 like for every 10 cuz that's the
Yeah.
privilege that I am paying for.
Right.
Pain.
So
I
like
get it.
I get
And I was
it.
just
I get it. And the other thing too
yeah.
is like let us not forget when Disneyland first opened, yes, you paid like a basic fee to get in, which was like $2 in 1955, but
They
still.
had tears.
But then you had to buy a ticket book. And
Yeah.
that
Oh, I
ticket
don't
book
love that.
determined
Yeah, I
They
don't
like
had
love
tears.
what ride you got on, right? And then if you used your e-ticket, because those were the good rides, you had to go buy another e-ticket. So like I understand it's a different time, but there is what irritated me when they launched Genie Plus was they were like, Walt would be spinning in his grave. I'm like, but he wouldn't because this is the way he set it up,
Right.
sort of.
You
This is
said
his
if we
digital
look at
version.
you're like if we look at history though, I'm not sure he would
I'm
be.
pretty
Like I'm
sure he would not be turning in his grave. He would be like, oh, okay, like it's gotten so
yeah.
crowded to the point that like not everybody can
We're
ride
bringing this
everything
back.
in one day. So like you kind of have to go
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
this like pay per ride system. So like I get it. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
and let's talk about Universal
It's
Studios for a
hard.
minute. It's like
I
$100
love
something
I
dollars
love
per
that.
person per day.
The Express Pass
I
is
love it though.
expensive.
It is. It is. I think I talked to Jessie about this the other day. It is. So a
Oh,
universal park ticket, I think for a park hopper, if you go during the summer, is like $170
It's
for a
so
park hopper.
expensive.
And you kind of need to do both parks if you like Harry Potter because the little train goes between the two. So you need
yeah,
a three-card
right.
ticket. So David and I had gotten when I first moved here, we had gotten the Express Pass, and we didn't eat. We only had breakfast and then a beer and a pretzel. So we didn't eat food, but we rode every single park, every single ride in both
Every
parks,
park.
and still had time for dinner and City Walk. Like the parks weren't closed. Like
Wow.
we literally, like I said, we didn't eat. We were very starving. But like every single ride, because everything's included. However, it's $150 per
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So it's another park ticket. It is a literal, like you are going to spend that's $500 when you do park tickets for two, and then
But if you stay at a top
You get it for
resort,
free.
you get it for
But you pay
free,
for those
you
which
rooms.
do
is
after.
you pay for
Like the
those
Hard Rock
rooms.
was
You
what, Jesse,
Yeah.
absolutely
when we
do.
looked at it,
Or
like
another
$700 a
thing that's
night.
wild.
It started at 650 for the premium hotels. Yeah.
I understand that, but Disney's premium hotel started 1,000.
Yeah, but you don't get anything free
Yeah.
with it.
You don't. You
And you
don't.
can get
Yeah.
decent,
And
like sometimes they're less. Jesse and I stayed at Contemporary not long ago, and it was like 450 a night or something. So it just
I
depends
think it
Okay.
on
was
the
like
season.
350, but
Yeah, it
yeah.
depends on the season.
It does, and also that's where like definitely a lot of companies can help you. Like there's like I know there's DVC rental companies now and stuff like that.
Yes.
But even if you have the top tier annual pass for Universal, after 4 p.m. you get Express
Yeah.
Pass,
Yes.
which is crazy.
That's cool.
It's
Yeah.
it's wild to me. So
And
I
their passes aren't as expensive as Disney too.
no
Like they're
no
No, their
way
top tier
cheaper.
pass is like
Well, not
seven
way, but
hundred something dollars, where Disney's is like what? It's like over 1,500 now. So it's basically
yeah.
double the price, and you
Yeah, they
don't
just
get
raised
any
them.
perks.
I do want to do like an episode. I do want to do a whole episode on like that and also like the hotel perks that have changed. Because
Yeah.
I do think the one thing about like Disney hotels, no matter what, will always be how nice the Disney bubble feels, like the transportation and everything. But
Right.
definitely there has been a lot of change in perks to staying in a Disney hotel.
Yeah. And
So,
Universal has stepped it up since then too. They have all the boat transportation now. And I went to
yeah.
Portofino, their Lowe's hotel, 2
I've
weeks
never
ago.
been and I
It's
want to go so
beautiful.
Oh
bad.
my God, it was beautiful. I walked in and I was like, oh my God, this is so pretty. We went to eat dinner there for our anniversary and I was like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
amazing. The dinner was so good. The
I've heard it's
entertainment was
pretty.
good. Like the service was great. Like it was, yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah.
highly
things because
recommend. It was
Jesse and
great.
I work at a travel agency is like our day job, and we're not agents. We just do their social media stuff, and we do travel, right? You guys know
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
worked with them before, and that's one of the things
Yeah.
that we like were kind of promoting on social for a while is like if there's no room at Disney, stay at Universal because then you could just pop over to Disney, but you get all the perks that Universal offer you.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
like you're
true.
getting don't like stay necessarily off site at Disney and then try to come in, like stay at Universal and take advantage of that because they give you a lot of
Yeah.
benefits for staying there, for being a pass holder, whereas Disney doesn't do so much of that.
They do.
So
They
Yeah.
don't.
And I was
There's
gonna say
like
with
part of me-
Universal, like it was so nice, like we stayed at Aventura for Halloween Horror Nights, and we just walked over to the hotel that was next door to
Yeah.
take a boat to Universal. Like we didn't, there was a bus, but we don't have to get on the bus. You have options, just like Disney. You have
Yeah.
options, but some Disney only offer a bus. That's your
Oh,
only
yeah.
option.
Yeah,
you know?
there's some that it's a little hard to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go back and forth in my brain a lot with like how I would feel if Disney moved to the Universal system. And like
Yeah.
part of me wouldn't mind it because then at least if you are with your family, you'd know that you could ride whatever you wanted and you wouldn't have to be tied to your phone. But
Yeah.
going back to the like if we are thinking about a family of 4, an extra $150 per person
yeah,
is crazy.
that's a lot.
Like
It's a lot.
it's crazy, and for parks like Magic Kingdom, absolutely would make sense. But for parks like right now,
Epcot even
Animal
doesn't
or
really make
Hollywood,
sense.
like not Hollywood or Epcot, that only have like 10 rides. $150 for 10 rides? That's not.
Yeah. And like even today, like, just being a local, like I'm not gonna pay just for myself to go with my friends on a lightning lane. I'm not gonna pay for Genie Plus. I have friends in town today and they texted me earlier and they were like, oh, we got lightning lane
Have
for
fun.
for Guardians. Like we didn't add you, and I was like, oh well, if you're not doing a virtual queue for free,
No, I'll
like I'm
wait.
not going, like I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll meet you
Nothing.
afterwards.
$17.99 for one ride that I've already been on. So like,
No, ma'am.
I've been on it multiple
No,
times, and I'm
ma'am.
like, no, I will spend that money on a fancy
I will
wine
get a
or a
drink,
fancy
and I will
steak,
sit and
yeah,
wait for you
literally
for
anything
less
else.
money.
Give me a
Yeah, no.
munchling.
a munch.
Yeah,
That's the thing, because it's for that one ride, because that's an individual lightning lane,
yeah. I'm
and
See,
like,
that's
but
where
when
no,
I was in California,
I'm
that's
like,
where I
I
really don't
my
mind it.
son loves Spider-Man, so we paid that individual lightning lane price every day to go on web slingers because that's what he wanted to do. And I didn't feel like waiting 2.5 hours because we went in the summer. It was busy with he was like, what was he, 4 or 5 at the time? Like, I didn't feel like waiting with him
yeah,
Yeah.
in a 2.5 hours. So I was like, oh, 21.99 per person to go and skip that line with my
Sure.
4-year-old.
yeah.
Absolutely, because it's that difference of like,
See,
I
I
can't do
waited
web
until the
slingers here. I
park.
can't do it. He doesn't get to
Go
do it
ahead.
here. So I did not mind paying literally 100
Yeah,
extra dollars a day for him to do it. And we literally did it every day because he loved it.
to do it
So
because he loved it.
Well, not only when you look at it is that it's you're not only paying that to ride web slingers, you're paying that to be able to give yourselves more time in the park.
Yeah,
Like
that
you
too.
are you
yeah,
are paying that to save yourself 2 hours where then someone's
have
gonna
to
get hungry,
pee, have an
tired, whiny.
accident.
Like you are saving
Exactly. So I
yourself
was like,
Yeah,
time.
that is worth it in my mind. But
yeah,
Like you're
here, I would never do that. And
yeah.
yeah,
again, we live here. And even if we didn't live here, we come here, like we're here more. I would never be like, oh, okay, yeah, 80 extra dollars, 100
yeah.
extra dollars. No, sir, you can sit and wait. Thank you.
No. I waited till the night at DCA to ride that ride. At night, I think the park was closing in like an hour or two.
Yeah.
I think the wait was 10 minutes and I walked right on. But
Wild.
again, yeah, there was like for some reason, I don't know why, but it
That
was like a
happens.
10-minute wait.
Yeah,
Nobody
that
was on
happens
that
here
side of the
too. But
park
see,
for some
like we weren't in
reason.
the park late because we had little
Oh,
kids. So
there was
like
a
Yeah.
they were
virtual queue
already
when I went.
conked
Yeah.
out. So like you have to just
They're tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you guys probably got there at the butt crack of dawn. I slept in and
I did.
I stayed until they closed. So that's my
I
wait.
tragically did both. I
Oh,
got there at the
no.
buck crack of dawn and I
No.
stayed until close every day I was there.
we were only there
No,
for
thank
like two
you.
or three days, right?
My feet were in disarray.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was bad.
See, I was there for a
We
week,
were
so I
there
was like, I'm
for
gonna sleep in because
2
I'm
full weeks.
exhausted,
So
and
like
we can stay. I know.
I only had
you had to
three
make the
days, so
most of
I
it.
was I am a
You're
very
booking it.
good I'm a really good park camp counselor if anybody ever needs a little tour guide. And even when we went to we did horror nights when around like still in September with my fiance and then his two friends, and literally I was like, at one point, the girl that had gotten us tickets, like she works there, she was with us. She's one of my bridesmaids, and she was like, "Oh, my friends are here, like from Starbucks, if we want to meet up with them." And I literally was like, "We're on a schedule." I was like, "Francis, we're on a
Can't
schedule."
do that.
And if you're wondering, because you've probably seen a lot of reels about like the lines at horror nights and not being able to get stuff done. If you're wondering, we got 7 houses done in one night, and
That's
Nightmare
amazing.
Fuel, and saw the Death Eaters, and had 7 snacks and 3 drinks. So
So there you go.
That's
okay.
amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
camp counselor. And at
Yeah.
DCA, we did all the rides in Disneyland except for Splash Mountain because it was freezing, and then we did all the rides in DCA except for the wet one there.
The Cali
So
River
yeah,
Rapid.
I'm a very good ringleader, but it takes a lot of research and a lot of you will not get
Yeah.
to eat
Yeah.
and or rest. There's no enjoying yourself when you go with me, but will you get
I
stuff
think,
done?
yeah,
Absolutely.
just to
Yeah.
like
That's crazy.
wrap it up and summarize. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a strategy
Yeah.
when you go into it if you want to do everything, whether or not you use Genie Plus or not. And I think if you use Genie Plus, there's so many great resources that you can use. Like you can watch Mammoth Club videos. We've worked with Wish Upon a Planner before. They do like, it's a paid service,
Yeah.
but she has like all these strategies and
Strategies.
like it's based on actual like math, which is amazing. She doesn't just pull it out of the sky. So there's there's so
don't
many
math.
like great resources, so you're not out there alone trying to figure it out. But again, you have to do what works for you.
But it
I
takes a
have
lot
kids.
more.
What I do is
Yeah.
going to be really different from what Jessie and
Yeah.
Yolanda do. Like it's just it's going to be different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't suggest the way that I do things
I
if
mean,
you're
when
going
I
for
was
one time,
younger with no
truly.
kids, I could do that, but
Unless-
now it's not feasible because somebody has to pee every 20 minutes and somebody's hungry and somebody, stepped on something and so, like it's a different
Yeah.
It's
it's a
true.
different
It's
thing.
very
So,
true.
but yeah, I mean the paper system
Yeah.
was
Oh
best
yeah.
and we move on from there.
I honestly
It
think the
was
paper
more
system
fair.
was kind of best just because like it felt like I said it felt fair. And while I know how to use Genie Plus and I can get a bunch of things, it feels like I said feels like a class system and it makes me feel
Yeah.
weird and I don't love
Yeah.
it.
I like the FastPass Plus, but that's just because, like, for me, paper tickets, like, I would attempt not to lose them, but it's
Ah,
like they're paper, and if you get wet, they're paper. So
that
I like it on the phone. But I still, again, I liked, like, I enjoyed scrolling and like
Yeah.
figuring out. It was fun for me. It was like a game. I felt like a wizard. It was great. I don't feel like a wizard with Genie Plus. I feel
Yeah.
kind of dumb.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
It's a
I'm
learning curve.
like, well, the
it'll be
system's
interesting
not
to see
working,
because they
so
did kind of tease, that next year they're going to make some changes to it. So I'm interested to see what that's going to be. If it's going to
Right.
be like they
yeah,
move to a more
me
universal
too.
system or they kind of bring it back to like the old school way. I don't know. We'll see, guys. We will see.
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
curious. We'll keep you
Yeah.
updated.
We'll
So
see.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have the paper FastPass stickers in the shop too. We only have a few of like
Oh
that
yes.
sheet that
And
Jessie's
magnets.
holding up yet left. So if you want it, I suggest getting it like now. I think we have like two left. And yeah, then we have our little FastPass fans, so we can remember the good old days.
And we have individuals, like, we
Yes, and
love
for
them. They're
listening to
so
the
cute.
podcast, you do get a
Yeah, there's a
discount. It's
couple pins
podcast
of those
10,
too.
podcast, and then the number 10. And yeah, 0. So just a
One
reminder, we're
zero.
still at every 2 weeks because Yolanda's getting married. So
And
Yes.
holidays, and we're
yeah.
busy in life, and
So look
Yeah.
out for us in another 2 weeks, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
then. Bye.